Good evening and welcome to the F1 Live post-race show, coming to you live from the paddock here at Bahrain International Circuit after the first round of the 2022 Formula One season. My name is Rosanna Tennant and I'm joined this evening by Alpine Reserve driver Oscar Piastri. Oscar, good evening to you. What a fantastic evening we have just had. What a way to kick off the season. Your first reaction to what we've seen?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, what a race. I think the battle between Verstappen and Leclerc was, probably the dream start to the new era of F1. And yeah, an exciting race all around and a lot of drama as we've come to expect. And yeah, I think it was a very good start to the season.
It certainly was. A Ferrari 1-2. So let's take a look at the classification from this evening's race. Charles Leclerc taking the win here in Bahrain to kick off the Scuderia's campaign in style. A 1-2 for them with Carlos Sainz in P2. Then Lewis Hamilton managing to take a podium position ahead of his teammate George Russell. Then Kevin Magnussen back in F1, scoring his points, getting his campaign off to a great start. P5 for him ahead of Valtteri Bottas, then Esteban Ocon and Yuki Tsunoda in P8, Fernando Alonso P9, and then Zhou Guanyu scoring points on his debut in Formula One. Moving down the order, it's P11 for Mick Schumacher, a great day in the office for Haas. Lance Stroll P12, then Alex Albon in the Williams P13 ahead of Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. A difficult evening for McLaren. Nicholas Latifi in the second Williams P16, then Nico Hülkenberg the Super Sub P17, and then 3 DNFs. Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly. It's a disappointing evening for a Honda-powered driver, but we have got one with us. Let me introduce to the show Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki, you were the only one with the Red Bull powertrain in the back of the car to finish this evening. Great recovery from quali. I have to say, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like you said, it's a bit tricky in the end for the Red Bull and AlphaTauri, that reliability issue we got. Yeah, we have to work on those things to have a more consistent result. But anyway, from my side, it was happy, yeah.
And tell me about these cars in race trim. We've all been trying to guess who was where in the pecking order. What was it like to drive in anger, the car?
Yeah, I mean, it was really difficult. I mean, I would say overall, a lot of things I learned from the car, especially when I drive the car behind, lots of things, and I saw a lot of limitation from other cars, and compared to them, what power we are losing or something like those things. So yeah, we learned a lot of things, yeah.
And are you excited for next weekend, Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I'm really exciting. I mean, last year I really enjoyed those, especially the track, like kind of new evolution track, especially Sector 1. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, at the same time we can hopefully develop the car more and fight more in top midfield, like a P6, P7. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, Yuki. Well done. Points on your first race of 2022. Enjoy the evening. See you next weekend. Right, I'm going to hand a sanitised microphone to George Russell. Good evening, George. What can I say? Whoa. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice touch. Well, George, if I'd offered you the positions that you and Lewis finished this evening, would you have taken it? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think realistically, we know we're the third fastest team, and anything higher than that was a brilliant result. But we need to find more performance. We're optimistic we can find it, but when, I don't really know. And it wasn't a very comfortable ride out there, bouncing around for 60 laps. But at the end of the day, P3, P4 is brilliant for the team.
So what's the work that's going to go on between now and next weekend? I know Lewis and Toto have both spoken about how it's going to be a long time until you get those parts to track.
Yeah.
Can we expect a jump in performance? I mean, are you both going to be on the podium next weekend in Saudi?
No, I think realistically it's not going to be a quick turnaround. I mean, we'd love for it to be, but it just takes time, and we need to go about it analytically and look at the data, and we can't just throw things at the car without knowing if it's the right direction or not. And it'll be a bit of a foolish approach, so we need to do things properly, do things that they've always done, and fingers crossed at some point we can find it. But it won't be next weekend. I doubt it'll be the weekend after. It might be, who knows how long it'll be.
Tell me about what it was like. I know you said it was not a very comfortable race for you, but put me in the cockpit when you're making the overtakes in 2022. What's the car feeling like? Is it easier to make those passes?
I mean, the only person I overtook was Kevin in the Haas, and I think we had quite a pace advantage. So, I mean, it felt relatively good and easy to follow, which was promising, but obviously cars are much heavier this year. Bahrain's always a tricky race with the surface here and the temperature. Need more time to see.
And what about the street track next weekend? Could this be a bit more flowing, which perhaps might suit the car a little bit more?
Yeah, I don't know. You're asking all the questions I don't know here. So
it's the beginning of the season. No one knows anything.
No one never known anything. So yeah, we're optimistic that it may suit us slightly better, but we know where we are. We're so far. Even if it suits us slightly better, it's not going to overturn that performance deficit to the cars ahead. I think we'll probably be in a lonely race for the first half of the year, behind Ferrari, Red Bull, and ahead of the midfield.
A lonely
race. You
race.
might know the answer to. Do you need a couple of paracetamol after bouncing around for the race?
The adrenaline's still running at the moment, but probably later. Yeah, it's not very pleasant, but it's...
Has it been physio every evening? I mean, is that normal anyway?
No,
is it just a bit more
No,
extended?
no. It's... You just get on with it. It's more annoying because you know it's just compromising your lap time, but it's... yeah, it's like riding a roller coaster. You just get used to it after time.
I don't even fit on roller coasters sometimes. I'm too tall for them. Well, George, congratulations, because I think it was damage limitation on your guys' part this evening. Enjoy the few days you have off, and we'll meet again in Jeddah.
Cheers.
Thank you. I'm just going to remove the wipes. They're not setting the scene very beautifully, are they? But we are keeping things COVID-friendly here. Yeah. I think, as I said at the top there with George, you know, they weren't expecting to be anywhere near the podium, I don't think, or at least they'd painted that bleak picture.
Yeah, I think they scored a podium today through a bit of good fortune. But yeah, I think clearly they need a bit of a step in performance. You know, George was very open about that, and yeah, I think at the moment it was quite clearly Ferrari and Red Bull the top two, and Mercedes a little bit of a step behind. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can claw it back. Obviously, 8-time Constructors champions, so they're going to come back fighting, I'm sure.
And this track, I mean, you've driven it. It's a tricky one. It's very abrasive on the tyres. It's got its own unique characteristics, as all tracks do. But are there other tracks you think that certain cars are going to come alive? We shouldn't sort of pin the pecking order down right now after this first race.
I think Bahrain does have its own uniqueness. It's very hard on brakes and very abrasive, like you said. So tyre wear is a massive factor here. I know from my F2 days, it was my first F2 weekend here, and it was a baptism of fire into Pirelli tyres. So, you know, I think with these new 18-inch tyres, it's the same dimensions as F2. So maybe there's a few similarities there. But yeah, obviously we saw a lot of pit stops compared to previously.
We thought 2 stops.
Yeah.
I mean, people were kind of saying 2, and we were thinking, okay, cool. And then suddenly we heard Carlos on the radio saying, think about the 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, the safety car slightly kind of jiggled the figures around a little bit, but 3 is quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is probably a very specific Bahrain instance. I'm not sure we'll see 3 stops for the rest of the year, but definitely Bahrain puts the cars to the test, as we've seen tonight.
Well, we will talk more about tyres and warm-up, I'm sure, over the course of the season and maybe this evening. But let's join Sam Collins now in the paddock with Günther Steiner.
Günther Steiner, about 2 hours ago, I asked you about how you thought you were going to get on in this race, and you told me that neither of your cars have ever finished a race distance. Now they have. How do you feel?
Pretty good, pretty good. No, I feel pretty good for the team. I mean, we never did, as I said before the race, we just discussed it before. We never got to the first pit stop when we did the simulation. So now coming to the end and finishing 5th is, it's down to the guys. You know, I mean, they put a lot of effort in and we got it done. You know, it's a very nice comeback for Kevin, for the team, you know, for everybody. And again, I'm so proud of them that you cannot imagine.
I mean, about a couple of weeks ago, Kevin was expecting to be racing IndyCar this weekend, I believe, and now he's finishing in the top 6 in Formula 1. It's a massive change. Have you spoken to Jean about this yet?
No, I think he's on the phone with other people. I tried to call him, and maybe there's somebody trying to call me back, but no, I haven't spoken with him. And by the way, Kevin finished in the top 5, not top 6, you know. I know that's also within the top 6, but it's top 5, yeah. Yeah, his plan was a few weeks ago to race yesterday in IMSA, you know. So plan changes, and I think the last 4 weeks, the roller coaster was worthwhile to do.
Now, does this reset your season objectives? Now you know you've got a competitive car. Were you looking to finish up by the end of the season?
I mean, I enjoy this one, and then we go from here. I mean, next week Jeddah is coming, but everybody's looking forward to it, and try to pull it off again and get Mick up there in the points as well. He got very close today, being 11, so hopefully next week that works out as well. So I think the car is good. We can fight. We have 2 good drivers, and we just do it again and do it better.
Günther, thank you very much and well done.
Thanks, Sam, and thanks, Günther Steiner. I think they look like a bunch of legends today, almost. Nearly 2 Haas in the top 10. I was kind of amazed at the start. We had a Haas battling a Mercedes. I mean, that was just not a thing in 2021, but here we are in 2022. Kevin Magnussen, P5. Mick just out of the points in P11. But just how great a job has Kevin Magnussen done jumping back in the car? Obviously, he's been racing elsewhere, but a really good job by him.
Yeah, I think a very, very good job by him. Obviously, a year out of the sport, or a year out of F1 anyway, and to come back in, didn't do any testing at Barcelona, got a day's worth of testing here in Bahrain, and, he's finished 5th in his first race back. So a great job by Haas, and, they said from the beginning that they were putting all their eggs in the 2022 basket as Esteban joins us here, and it's clearly paid off for them.
Good evening.
What are you
Esteban.
doing here?
He's multi-talented, Esteban. He can do broadcasting, he can do driving.
He's better at driving, I have to say.
Oh, that is a nice comment. That's a great comment. Well, good evening. P7 for you. You had some nice battles out there, and I guess not a bad day for you guys.
No, pretty good. Thank you very much. I think apart from the first lap contact with Mick, which I apologize, it's unfortunate that we had that touch, and it's my fault completely. But apart from that, it was very solid. I mean, we could catch some cars in front, coming back through the field. Great strategy by the team as well, with 3 stops. It's a first for me, probably for the team for a long time as well. And apart from that, I think it's been solid to have 2 cars in the points, so we want more.
And 3 pit stops, bigger tyres, as you say. What are they like to drive on? Because we saw Carlos Sainz on the start straight, kind of weaving aggressively, doing burnouts, trying to get the tyres warmed up, especially the rears. How did you find them?
Yeah, I mean, to warm them up, of course, it's a bit of a challenge, but we didn't have that much trouble, so maybe something we need to look at, obviously. No, in the race, for sure, there was quite a lot of degradation looking at the 3 stops. Obviously, we knew that we are going to be needed to be aggressive, stopping that much. I mean, it's easier to follow than before, a lot easier, and easier to pass as well. So that's why we did so many stops.
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking earlier on, weren't we, about how Fernando's tyres, the degradation was perhaps a little higher than you guys feared. And we were saying before that was the case. So what happens between now and next week? You guys go into engineering debrief tonight, I imagine?
We are just going now, and don't be late.
I'll try not to be.
I love that.
But no, we are going just now, obviously, debrief. We stay a couple of days here in Bahrain, and then we go straight to Saudi. So getting prepared for what's going to be an interesting one, because very low visibility with these new cars. Getting close to the wall is going to be interesting, and completely different to what we are going to face here in terms of degradation and everything. So I have good memories from last year, Jeddah, so I look forward.
Oh, absolutely, that drag race to the line. You say don't be late. Who's the first into the engineering debrief out of all 3 of you, Fernando included?
But I mean, sometimes he has a bit of duties, media duties.
Sometimes I've got some media commitments. They keep me busy.
It's got to earn his keep.
I have to
we
say,
are paying you, aren't we, Oscar? I hope we are.
Yes.
I think he doesn't want to miss this one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Esteban, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to seeing what more you guys can do. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Jeddah.
See you soon.
It's coming fast, isn't it? Yeah,
See you shortly.
See you in the debrief. Well, they're coming thick and fast. We've got another driver on the approach. Let me get the other microphone out there. If you are joining us from anywhere near England, you might know about Blue Peter. Joe, here we go. That is your microphone.
Joe. Congratulations, my friend. Very well done.
What a result.
Microphones.
I'm a professional media man now.
And professional congratulator, and I think that is exactly what is due. Congratulations, points on your debut. Was that written in the stars, in the data, when you went out on onto the reconnaissance laps this evening?
To be honest, not, because my long distance was quite strong, so I was always quite in line with Valtteri, so it's always a good step. But then, what happened turn 1, not a good start, but then I had anti-stall in turn 1, which I have to pull the clutch for some reason. I was dead last, and then, just to attack, make the move stick quite late on brakes in turn 1. Didn't expect to have that much confidence with the car, to be honest, but in my mind it was only just to get into points, and the race was so intense, not just in physical, it's more like the mental side, but it was very emotional in lap, I have to say.
Oh, and different to F2, I guess. But yeah, you've got the experience of no tyre blankets for a bit. So were you okay with the tyres this evening?
Yeah, it's always, I think, better, to be honest, in Formula 1 because you have a little bit more tyre heating up when you go out because F2 we have literally 0 temperature in turn 1. But the other hand is that you have to push on your outlap. Then sometimes, like what Lewis did in the hard tyre, he was just drifting a little bit.
Like ice, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite ice driving. So I was like, okay, definitely we're not going to put the C1 tyres on. But nevertheless, yeah, I was so happy with everything, the job we've done so far this weekend.
Oh, fantastic. And just tell me what the mood's like. Have you managed to have a quick chat with Fred? Have you come out of the car yet? Fred Vasseur, your team principal?
No, not yet. The only two people is the media people and then my physio so far and you guys. So.
Oh, well, we feel privileged. We feel privileged. What have you learned this weekend that you're going to take into next weekend? Do you think anything about the F1 race weekend in general?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the difference on tyre compound, the difference on the downforce or the feeling you get in qualifier compared to the practice is a huge step. That's what I was missing. But then in the race, I think there was a lot of positive to take because I think the race pace compared to Valtteri, if you just do back-to-back, I was very pleased. And as a team, we still have to keep improving for the car. But to be, last year, I don't think we scored in points. And this year, to be 2 cars in the points, I think is amazing.
And Joe, a huge moment for you, a huge moment for your country as well. First Chinese driver on the F1 grid. It's a phenomenal moment. I imagine your phone is ringing red hot, probably back in the hospitality.
Hopefully, still have some back sheets. But even after qualifying, was quite red hot. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody were proud of me. And, it means so much, this first championship points also to be in Q2 yesterday because when I signed the contract to Formula 1, there's all these talks around, behind. And I really have to say, I think I fully deserved in Formula 1. And of course, Oscar fully deserved to be here as well. And
Give him his time. Give him his time.
Next year, he will be having a chance. But in general, I think this weekend, we give everything I had in myself and could ask for more for the debut and really, just give everything.
Well, it's a pleasure to watch you race. Good luck for next weekend. I'm now going to head over to chat to Fred Vasseur, your team principal, is talking with Sam Collins. So let's join Sam. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
So that was a pretty exciting first race, it's fair to say, particularly for the Alfa Romeo team. Points for Guan Yu Zhou's debut. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was overall it's a very good result. That we had a decent quali, and the pace was, I think, amazing. The issue is that Valtteri lost 12th position lap 1 or something like this, and it was difficult to recover. But overall, it's a very good result for the team. That with the 2 cars into the point, the first point for Zhou, and I'm very pleased for him also because he did a great job all over the weekend, and I'm very pleased for him to have 1 point on the pocket.
What did happen to Valtteri on the first lap? Because he just lost so many places.
Come back after the debrief. I will have more info. I think he was on the right-hand side and he had too much wheel spin and then he lost a bit the momentum of the lap 1. And okay, but we have to fix it. We have to understand what's happened exactly. And we didn't do so many starts from with the car and Valtteri, and I think we will fix it quite soon.
Now, there was a big step in performance for this car. How much is Ferrari and how much is Alfa Romeo?
That when you are in the shit, you don't have to do the split. When you are in a good shape, you don't have to do the split also.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Apologies for the fruity language there from Fred, but great to hear from him. I think buoyed up and jubilant after a great weekend for Alfa Romeo. Valtteri Bottas, tricky start. Sam and Fred were just chatting about a tricky start for him. But able to actually get Alfa Romeo back up the grid. I think he probably was a little bit used to having a Mercedes under him and he can then claw it back. But it's going to be a different kettle of fish this year.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened to Valtteri at the start. Obviously started very high up on the grid and yeah, I think a bit fortunate with the late safety car there. But yeah, as we see the start here, I'm interested to see where Bottas goes. But no, I think double points for the team. Like Joe was saying, They didn't score any points last year, or I don't think they did, and to get 2 cars in the points at the first race, fantastic. And yeah, it looks like Bottas just had a bit of a slow start, really, from what I can see on this screen here. But yeah, he clearly managed to make his way back through, and they've been quick in testing, and certainly I think surprised a few people throughout free practice and qualifying yesterday.
Definitely quick but fragile. Let's hope they can hold it together throughout the season. Kevin Magnussen, good evening.
Good evening.
what a great few days. I've just loved like watching you live your life back in F1.
Yeah, it's been just incredible. These last 2 weeks have just been crazy.
Yeah.
From being in the US, ready to do Sebring 12 hours, and then getting the call to come here, feeling the car and actually seeing that it might be quite good, and then qualifying yesterday, race today.
Because I was a bit worried in qualifying with the steering issue at the end of Q3. How hard did you guys have to work overnight to fix it, or was it actually quite a simple fix?
It was a big problem that was easy to fix. It was just a hydraulic leak that could have been pretty bad in qualifying. Just, had to come in, fill it up, some liquid in the thing, and
Sounds
go
just
again.
like my car at home.
So, just can't believe it.
Well, P5 for you. You had some good battles. Pierre Gasly springs to mind. Tell me what it's like racing these cars in 2022.
It's good. I feel like they're a lot better. It's a step forward. Following is a whole different world. I mean, in the past you couldn't follow at all, and now the thing is, it's kind of following is easier, and then on a straight line, gaining in the slipstream is less. So it's not that much easier to overtake. It's
And
just
DRS,
like better racing.
how was that today? DRS, did you find?
The DRS effect is bigger if you're on your own, but then because when you're trying to catch someone, the slipstream effect is a lot less, so you don't actually catch as quick as you did with the old cars. So it's not that it's a lot easier to overtake, it's just like better in a way.
Well, that's what we want to hear. If it's better for you guys, it's going to be better racing for us to watch as well. So what now? Now you're back in the groove of F1. I imagine your expectations are kind of creeping up and up as to what you guys might be able to achieve this year.
Yeah, but also I've
Don't
been...
ruin it for me, Kev.
No, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it, but it's like, we've got to work really hard and just keep focused, because we've been in this situation before where we have a really good first race and then it's downhill from there. But I do feel like it's a different situation this year. The car is just solid, and this is a tough track. This is a track that if you have any weakness in the car, this is going to show. So I'm very, very positive and thankful for this opportunity.
From a personal point of view, kind of now you've been in it and you've done it a couple of times now, and this is your third time coming back. A bit more wisdom on how to approach this crazy circus that is Formula One, do you think? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, in the past I was enjoying it also, but I felt a lot of pressure. And this time, I don't know, maybe it will come later on, but so far I still just kind of feel like surprised to be here. And, it's kind of this weekend just only enjoyed it. I didn't feel any sort of negativity, any of the sort of negative thoughts that you might have. As a young driver in Formula One, there's a lot of pressure and stuff, and this time I've just been able to enjoy it and grab the opportunity, drive the car as best as I could.
Well, lesson for us all, grabbing the opportunity. Kev, fantastic weekend. Can't wait for next weekend, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
done.
Yeah, phenomenal. I just do feel like, having interviewed him quite a bit, he's so much more relaxed in his kind of just modus operandi. I've loved seeing his daughter as well. Isn't she just so beautiful, just like lurking about, tiny little thing. So good to hear from him, and Mick Schumacher as well, obviously with that spin that Esteban alluded to with the little moment. But on the cusp of points as well. Well, let's hear from Pierre Gasly, the driver that brought out the safety car, the virtual safety car, that then became the safety car. The AlphaTauri catching fire. Let's hear what he's got to say about that incident.
Pierre, it looked like you had such strong pace in there, comfortably inside the top 10. Then what happened?
Well, the whole car just switched off outside of turn 1, and then after it started to smell not too good inside the car, and there was pretty much barbecue at the back of the car. So, yeah, not the start we hoped for. It's a shame, because until then the race was amazing. We managed to have a really good start. I managed to pass Fernando, also Kevin when I had the chance, and to run quite comfortably in P8. So we lost some important points, but yeah, I mean, there is still quite a lot of positives to take from today.
I was talking about the positives. Considering where you started the weekend, it kind of went upwards, and this race pace bodes well for the future, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was positively surprised. So no, I must say it's looking pretty good for the next few races. I mean, obviously we still need to understand what's happened, because I saw Max had a problem and Checo as well. So not a great day for Honda. But no, I'm sure we'll find solutions. And yeah, as we said, the pace was great. I had some good battles. It felt good to be back racing again, and yeah, we'll go again next week.
Right, hard luck. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Well, the car felt great until it unfortunately caught fire. I think there is potential there in that AlphaTauri. They were struggling a little bit over the course of the weekend, though. We were thinking actually the cooler temperatures didn't suit them, and then poof, up it went in smoke in the cooler temperatures. So I guess when we head towards European tracks, they can take some confidence in that, maybe?
We'll have to see. Obviously, you know, the engines in both the Red Bulls and the AlphaTauri seem to be a bit of an issue, or there seems to be an issue. Obviously, 3 out of 4 cars didn't finish, so yeah, I'm sure they'll be hoping they can fix it before next weekend in Jeddah.
Because yesterday after quali, we were sort of oohing and ahhing at the Mercedes engines being further down the path than perhaps we have been used to in Formula One. But then, as you say, it's the Red Bull powertrains that have gone pop. So it's sort of, you can look fast, but first you've got to finish. And that is unfortunately not what happened for the Red Bulls and one AlphaTauri.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, the beginning of a new season is always challenging. I've been experiencing that firsthand with Alpine, and you know, it's been a tough one with these new regulations and a lot of new parts. So yeah, I think they'll surely be hoping, as we see Max
That was disappointing,
unfortunately
wasn't it?
coming to a halt. You know, that he was having a great race up until that point, taking the fight to Charles. And
Those battles, I mean, we've spoken about how the tyres have got a bit more, you know, grunt, and they don't have to worry about kind of leaning on them so much, and they don't have to worry about sticking too close to the car in front. But that was awesome, the battle between Charles and Max.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, that was exactly what these new regulations were designed for, to have this close racing, and it looked like Max had quite a speed advantage into turn 1, and Charles had quite a speed advantage into turn 4. So it was an interesting dynamic, and obviously both of them very aggressive and had a few good battles in the past. So yeah, it was great to see, and hopefully we'll see more of it.
More in the future, I'm hoping, absolutely. Some cracking race car craft from both of those drivers. Let's hear from Christian Horner, though, now, who's been chatting to Sam Collins.
Christian, I don't know where to start. Are you challenging for race wins with Max? Sergio looked fantastic, and then everything went wrong. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, we're not quite sure yet. You know, we just lost power on both cars. It looks like a similar issue on both of the cars. So, you know, until we get them apart and understand, it's a little bit confusing. But you know, very frustrating because, you know, that would have been good points today. But you know, comfort that at least we know we've got a decent car.
It looks like you're in the fight with the Ferraris now for the season, slightly different to last year. How are you facing the rest of the 2022 season from this point?
Well, it's a marathon season. I mean, 23 races is insane. But yeah, you know, it was a lot of bad luck, unfortunately, end of that race for what would have been a very good point score. But you know, Ferrari, congratulations to them. They've looked strong throughout winter testing. They've obviously quick. You know, yesterday we've seen that. Frustrating for us to give away those points, but you know, we'll fight back next weekend.
Any concern about having to replace the power units and take a penalty later in the year?
I don't think so. We didn't see anything in the power unit that was an issue.
Christian, thank you very much and bad luck.
Sam Collins with Christian Horner there. Well, reliability issues being a problem for them from the off. Sam was asking Christian about penalties. Is something you guys are already thinking about in terms of like any reliability issues down at Alpine?
I have no idea. We finished the race, so that was a good start. But yes, I mean, I think pretty much all the teams have had at least one hiccup throughout testing, us at Alpine included. But yeah, we finished the race, and hopefully everything stayed in one piece on the car, and we'll see. But I think it's still far too early to be thinking about grid penalties for engines at the moment.
Well, I'd say touch wood, but this isn't wood, I don't think.
Yes.
Maybe it is. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm going to touch it anyway.
Special material. Who knows? Well, let's hear from Max Verstappen. It was almost emotional watching it, wasn't it? When he just sort of falling through the order and having to retire the car with battery issues. Let's hear from the reigning world champion.
Hey Max, hard luck. You drove your heart out. Great battle with Charles and just frustration at the end.
Yeah, I mean, what happened at the end is of course very frustrating, but also before that, quite a few issues where, first of all, the balance was off. I didn't have the same feeling as on Friday in the long run, so that was a bit disappointing. But then, nevertheless, I mean, second with the issues with the balance would have been a good result. But then suddenly my steering, I don't know what happened to that. It was just completely like locked, and the faster I was going, I could barely steer. So it was not easy in the restart to defend from Carlos. But then, I was still in second with that big issue. So you think, okay, with all these things I've had today, second would be a good result. And then suddenly, I had to retire. Everything just switched off, and it looked like a kind of a fuel pump or issue. There was no fuel coming to the engine. Of course, these things you don't want to happen, and very painful for the team as well that both cars retire. But we need to look into everything.
Is it a bit mixed emotions because considering all the problems, you almost won the race, and then concerns because you had those 2 technical problems in the race?
Well, I think at the end what is the biggest problem is that we score 0 points with a competitive car. And of course on the days where you have tiny issues or you're not entirely happy with the balance, you have to consolidate and score points. And what we did today is of course extremely painful.
Hard luck, thank you.
0 points for Red Bull. Not what I think any of us were expecting, especially when we saw that incredible charge that Max was putting on Charles Leclerc. Lawrence Bretto asking, sort of mixed emotions, slightly kind of jubilant in the fact that they can take the fight to Ferrari when the car's working, and then obviously bittersweet because of the retirements that they both had. How did they bounce back, and do you think they can bounce back, Oscar?
I think they can definitely bounce back. I think, until they retired, they were well and truly in the fight. And, I think it's Ferrari and Red Bull semi-comfortably at the front at the moment. I think throughout testing, the last day of testing especially, Max was putting in some quick laps, and obviously the qualifying fight was extremely close. So definitely Red Bull will come back, and whilst the car was still on track, they were definitely taking the fight to Charles.
Well, a little bit of head scratching perhaps, maybe just a few tweaks here and there for Red Bull Racing over the coming days before we head to Saudi Arabia. But now let's hear what Lewis Hamilton has to say. Taking a podium, I don't think anyone really expected that in the lead up to this weekend with the porpoising issues that the team have been having. Let's hear what Lewis Hamilton had to say in the media pen, talking to Lawrence.
I'm guessing when you woke up this morning, you probably weren't predicting a podium, were you?
I wasn't predicting a podium, but I was thinking of a podium.
Trying
to manifest it,
How pleased were you with the performance today?
So proud. So proud of the team. Reliability is obviously key. We've just been working really, really hard to try and maximize with what we have. We really are struggling with the car. It's not so bad at the initial phase of a stint. You saw us at the beginning of the race. I was keeping up with the Ferrari, and then all of a sudden they just disappeared. So we have huge degradation and a real lack of rear downforce. So that's a big problem for us. So we've really got to work on that. And also straight line speed. We're really not that fast in the straight. So we can't quite compete with those guys up ahead of us. But yeah, to get a third. Once I got into third place, I was like, oh, I can't believe it. I'm so happy.
Lewis Hamilton, P3 this evening. He's been talking about it over the course of the last few days, that it's a build issue that Mercedes are really struggling with. I keep on saying struggling. I mean, they've taken a P3 and a P4. It's not exactly terrible, but it will take a bit of time. How much, give me your example of it, back at base right now for the Alpine team, how much development, it's a development race, of course, this year, but how much has been chatted about throughout the weekend? Are parts going to come to Saudi Arabia? What have you been hearing?
I think there's parts flying every day for all of the teams at the moment. So especially at the beginning of the season, firstly, just having enough parts to, in case stuff goes wrong, to replace them.
Like the side pod.
Like the side pod, yes. That was, a point of discussion. But, that's the first thing, making sure you've got enough parts to finish the weekend. But, their porpoising issue does seem pretty extreme at Mercedes. And I think they've both come out and said, it's not really a simple setup change. So we'll see how quickly they can get on top of that.
Have you been in the sim for Alpine, and was there any kind of thought about porpoising before we headed into this season?
There was not, no. So I think it's caught a lot of people off guard, if not everybody off guard. And obviously we've seen some people be able to manage it better than others. I think Mercedes are probably one of the few now, I guess, that are struggling with it so extremely still. But I think for a lot of the teams, it is a compromise of how much you can deal with it without breaking the car, because ultimately the lower you can run these cars with the new ground effect, the faster they go. So it's a bit of a headache quite literally a headache for the drivers, but it's a headache for the engineers as well.
Well, hopefully everybody can get on top of it, and then we can just see nice, close wheel-to-wheel racing throughout this 2022 season. Let's join Sam Collins now, though, who has managed to corner team principal Toto Wolff at Mercedes.
Toto, the first race of the new era of Formula One, had a very unexpected finish, it's fair to say.
Better lucky than smart, no? I think all race, in a way, we enjoyed seeing it because this is a test for us. It's a test on the real condition. We know we're lacking pace probably in every single area that we need to fix. But you know, this is where we are. We're third on the road, and this is where we need to improve.
Now, we saw some of the other Mercedes-powered cars struggle for pace right through the weekend as well. Is it a power unit issue, or is it just a global issue?
I think it's a global issue. We were a bit overwinged, also too much drag, and that's maybe half or 2/3 of the difference we have. And then we need to fine-tune the engine also. But that engine has won us 8 championships, and it's going to continue to do a good job for us.
Now, you think even with this situation, there's still a hope for the Constructors' Championship and race wins this year?
Well, Leclerc today was in a league of his own, and the package is French. And in a league of his own, and the package is really good that they have. So, but you can see how quickly it goes. Everybody came here with believing Red Bull was the benchmark, and they go away with 0 points.
Toto, thank you very much.
Crazy. The benchmark, and you go away with 0 points. That's what Toto Wolff has just said about Red Bull. I want to talk about the epic duel that we saw, the duel in the desert, between Max and Charles Leclerc. That was awesome because it kept going, and I think that's what these new rules are designed to do. Battling for longer, the drivers don't have to ease up, back off. We saw it 3 times with Charles and Max. Just tell me, were you as excited by it as me, as some sort of mere little fan? As a driver, it's still exciting to watch.
I was definitely excited watching it, and you know, firstly there was a hell of a lot of sparks coming from Max's car, so that was a bit of excitement.
Yes, yeah.
But you know, this first one especially was very exciting because you know you didn't really know what was going to happen here. Obviously, I think both of them are quite aggressive, and they've had some on-track battles before, and yeah, I think. It went for a few laps. I think it was 3 times in a row they had this, and it looked like Verstappen really had a lot of top-end power into turn 1, and Charles more so into turn 4. So whether Max was deploying the full battery into turn 1 and then just trying to defend into turn 4, we'll never know. But from as you know, you can see here from how far back he's coming, and this one was the latest of the lot. I think he could kind of sense that the Ferrari was a bit quicker overall, and you know, needed to try and make it stick, but unfortunately couldn't, and we all know what happened after that.
Yes, we certainly do. It was just very clever from Charles Leclerc, I think. He kind of let Max go for it on the inside, and he sort of thought, well, I'll let you have this, but I'm going to get the next one. It was not trying to kind of get to the finish too quickly.
Yeah, and you know, I think especially on that first one for Charles, it would have been very difficult to predict that he could come back around the outside at turn 4. So for the next 2, he probably had a little bit more insight into what was happening. But certainly that first one, I'm sure he would have been pretty nervous when he saw Mr. Verstappen coming down the inside. So I'm sure he's quite happy that he managed to hold that one off.
Absolutely. Well, let's turn our attention now to the restart. I can imagine as well, it's been a while since Charles was on pole. It's been a while since he's led away a restart. But let's watch that back because he managed it beautifully. Max getting really close alongside him, almost kind of going to the inside and forcing Charles out wide before he then pulled away. But Charles was gone. Then the battle with Carlos Sainz, that was really, it was less attack from Max, it was more defence of Sainz.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I noticed something that Charles did on the entry to the last corner, and he, Verstappen was in a bit of an awkward spot because he was sort of stuck alongside him. So I think it was played very, very smartly from Charles to get that gap. And here I thought it could have been a Ferrari 1-2 on track before Verstappen stopped. But yeah, and here we can see, you know, Verstappen's clearly having some troubles at this point, and the second Ferrari's coming through. But yeah, it was an exciting battle to say the least.
It really was. Well, congratulations, Mattia Binotto. What a joy to have you on the F1 Live post-race show.
Ciao.
Oscar, Mattia. Well, what a dream scenario.
So
1-2.
Yes, so happy. I think we are not expecting or hoping for such a good result at the end. But it's great to be here to win, and finally I won too. So I think it has been an overall great team effort, a great team results. Everyone worked very well, I think, from the car itself, the set of the strategies, the pit stops, and the drivers. I think both drivers did a fantastic race today. Charles drove very well, defending the position when he was fighting with Max, and Carlos had a difficult weekend, a more difficult weekend, but he's a strong racer, a good racer, and finally in the race he was trying to do the best, and he had an opportunity at the end, he catched it and finished second.
It's interesting how Charles said he's had to really try different driving styles, and yet Carlos is finding it quite hard. So do you think we're going to see a little bit more changeable driving from Carlos to try and get on terms with Charles?
As far as I think we should not forget, it has been only 6 days of winter testing, so 3 days per driver on a completely different car, a new car, and maybe yes, Charles adapted immediately to the car or more easier to the car. Charles will get there very soon, because at the end this weekend already has been an entire weekend. You go through free practices, a quali, an entire race, so you start learning the car, you get the data, he will study the data. I'm pretty sure that next week already he will adapt himself already better.
We all remarked upon your reliability. You guys were nailed on really from the off in Barcelona. You must have known, yeah, Dutchman. I've said this isn't wood, so just beware. Did you guys know that the performance was there? Was there a lot of sandbagging going on from you guys?
No, it's not. No. You never know how strong you are, because up to the point you come really at the quali, that because obviously, as you said, you are never pushing to the maximum during the testing, or because of fuel load or engine power. So we knew that we could have been competitive. How competitive, you don't know. And I think to see here that somehow we have been in pole, but it has been very tight. And I think it's obviously that's Bahrain. Maybe in a different circuit it can be different. So I don't think that we can say and to assess that we've got the best car today. Still, I believe that the others are still the favorites. They have been very, very close in the quali, in the race. They are the world champions. Mercedes will be back very soon, I'm pretty sure, and that's great for the F1. We are the outsider, but I'm pleased today at least that we've done the 1-2.
Well, congratulations. Saudi, thumbs up, middle, are you going to be good?
Let's wait and see. We'll certainly try to fight to do our best, and hopefully we can be part of the battle for the best position.
Fantastic. We will see you in a few days' time. Thank you so much, Mattia. Congratulations. Ferrari is back, as an old Ferrari driver once said. Oh, Sebastian Vettel. We wish him well, because he's a little bit poorly at the moment. Hopefully back for Saudi Arabia. Of course, super sub Nico Hülkenberg in for him. But Ferrari, a 1-2, just a magnificent way to kick things off, and really proving the point that switching their focus last year to this year's car, it worked well.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think there's also a bit of an element of Red Bull and Mercedes fighting to the death last year. Obviously, Red Bull, I think they could probably sense it was maybe their only opportunity for the whole hybrid era to topple Mercedes, and obviously they were successful with Max. So I'm pretty sure Mercedes and Red Bull would have been fighting a lot more with last year's car, and Ferrari obviously had a bit of a luxury. I'm sure they would have preferred to be in the title fight last year, but a bit of a luxury to switch to 2022 development a bit earlier.
Well, fantastic to hear from Mattia Binotto. He was often back at Maranello last year, kind of making sure he was overseeing 2022's car, and it has proved to be the right route. Let's hear from Carlos Sainz then. P2 for him today. Still not comfortable with the car, so who knows, perhaps a win's nailed on for him next weekend in Saudi. Here's Carlos.
Yeah, it's actually, second consecutive podium. This one was a bit easier than the last one, because the car is there. We have a strong car this year. You guys saw it. It's been a massive day for the team, and I think it's a day to celebrate. Well deserved to the whole team. It's been 2 difficult years. People, obviously Ferrari fans and us, we've been suffering, but to come back in this manner with a 1-2, it's a huge day, and now it's time to celebrate and enjoy.
I know you personally have struggled a little bit with the car this weekend, but you got there in the end. And does this bode well for the rest of the year, your championship contenders?
Yeah, it maybe sounds a bit strange to say it now, but as a Ferrari driver, it was my most difficult weekend. I didn't have the pace, neither in the race or in Friday practice. For some reason that I need to understand, in quali I was suddenly thereabouts fighting for pole position, but today in the race it exposed my weaknesses with this car, and it shows that I'm still not quite there, which is something last year never happened. So some work to do for me. Today I will celebrate with the whole team, but from tomorrow I will be looking into data and into what I can do better to drive this car and be fighting for the win next time.
Congratulations.
Well, he wants to be fighting for the wins, and I think he might just be. Carlos and Charles with the strongest package, the most reliable, I think, and now the most performant as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think, last year was Carlos's first year with Ferrari, and made a very big impression and was impressive last year. So, obviously Charles got one up on him today, but I'm sure he'll be back fighting. And I think, like you said, Ferrari have got a very solid package, and we'll see with time if it's ultimately the quickest. But I think they're certainly in a very happy place at the moment.
And I also kind of think, are they able to take it on even more? Whereas you sort of feel because Red Bull and Mercedes went all in on 2021, perhaps they'll get up to speed a little bit later on, but their development will continue, whereas maybe Ferrari might top out, would you fear?
I guess only time will tell. Obviously, I don't think Ferrari really had any upgrades from testing to this first race, whereas Mercedes obviously had their quite radical upgrades at the Bahrain test, and Red Bull also came with a few upgrades. So whether they still have a bit more lined up, I'm sure Ferrari will have some lined up as well. But I guess that's the exciting thing about these new regs and the start of a new season. We'll see a very interesting development race.
Packages incoming from Maranello, who knows? Well, let's hear from our race winner, Charles Leclerc, on top of the podium here in Bahrain. Here is the Monegasque driver.
Oh, it feels amazing. It really feels amazing. I mean, after all the hard work to do the pole yesterday felt good, but I had to finish the business today and to do to have a race win, and especially a 1-2 with the team feels absolutely incredible. And it wasn't an easy race. After the first stop, Max was right behind. I was always trying to make sure that I will brake earlier into turn 1 to get the DRS and to get him back, and that worked 3 times in a row, so I was very happy. And then as soon as I had a bit of margin and that I recovered with my energy system, or I don't know how you call it, whatever, then I had a bit more margin, and then I could manage my race.
And it was just pure performance that you got this win today.
Sorry?
It was just pure performance that you got this win today. You must be really pleased with the prospect for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I was very happy with the performance. Whenever I had free air, everything was under control, and I could control my pace and control the gap behind. So very happy with it.
Well, of course, he's very happy with it. Charles Leclerc going home with all the spoils this evening. A P1 for him yesterday in qualifying and then taking the win. Ferrari 1-2. Oscar, did you have that in mind when we arrived in Bahrain?
No, I don't think so. I think Red Bull, after their final day of testing, looked ominous and were probably going in as the favourites. I think Ferrari were a very close second, but no, I think it surprised a few people that Ferrari followed through on their testing pace. Obviously, it's not the first time they've been strong in testing, but they definitely followed through in the first race, and we'll see whether they can keep it up.
Well, they managed to end a 45-race winless streak this evening with Charles' victory. Can he make it back-to-back victories in Saudi Arabia next week? Of course, we have a double-header to kick off this extraordinary season. Oscar, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure this next week will be quite busy. Are you flying away, home to Saudi straight away?
I am spending a few days here in Bahrain and then going to Saudi. So try and get a few gym sessions in, and I've got to stay ready. As I'm reserve driver, I've got to stay ready. We've seen in the last couple of weeks 2 COVID positives, so I'll be on my toes being ready, and a little Middle Eastern trip.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for joining us, and fingers crossed you get that drive ASAP. Thank you so much to Oscar. Thank you to you as well for joining us on the F1 Live post-race show here in Bahrain. Just a few days and we'll do it all again in Saudi Arabia for the second round. It's been a pleasure having you along with us over the course of the weekend. So many shows. I hope you've enjoyed them. Do come back for more next weekend. From me now, though, Rosanna Tennant, it's goodbye.